I have repeated this story to myself so many times that I no longer know where memory ends and imagination begins. But I know one thing with absolute certainty. Before I learned this spirit, a tree was just a tree, and now I see a hunger in every shadow it casts. People say understanding dispels fear. They are wrong. Understanding is sometimes only the key to a darker room. Before the gilded temples of Buddhism fully shaped the soul of Thai culture, a more ancient and primal faith dominated the rhythm of daily life. This was a world of animist beliefs, where the land itself was alive. Every river that carved the earth, every silent stone that bore witness to the passing centuries, and every towering tree that reached for the heavens possessed a spirit. These were not abstract deities, but immediate, tangible presences that demanded respect, offerings, and caution. In this breathing world, the coconut tree held a place of particular reverence. It was a giver of life, a complete ecosystem in a single form. From its fronds came shelter and rope. From its trunk, sturdy wood, and from its fruit came food, oil, and the sweet, clean water that could save a traveler from the brink of death. When something holds such profound power to give life, it is only natural to believe it holds an equal power to take it away. For centuries, coconut palms were an inseparable part of the Thai landscape, a constant, silent audience to human existence. They stood sentinel over villages, their slender trunks leaning over homes and pathways. People were born, lived, and died in their shade. They slept, worked, rested, and played beneath the heavy globes of fruit hanging far overhead, a familiar and trusted presence. But familiarity breeds a dangerous comfort. Coconuts do fall, and when a 3-kilogram weight drops from a height of 20 meters, it strikes with the force of a fatal blow. A sudden death, with no visible cause, no warning, demanded an explanation in a time before the cold logic of modern medicine. A person healthy at one moment could be gone the next, struck down by a force that seemed to come from nowhere. And so, a belief took root, as deep and tenacious as the trees themselves. If a coconut falls when there is no wind to shake it loose, something wanted it to fall. By giving this random, terrifying danger a name and a will, a spirit, the world felt ordered once more. Death was not a chaotic accident. It was a choice. It had a reason. In the small, quiet village of Ben Nung Klang, no one remembered when the coconut grove was first planted. The oldest residents, their faces as wrinkled as dried fruit, would only say that the trees were older than the village itself. Their trunks were immense, scarred with the passage of untold seasons. And they leaned inward, not toward the sun, but toward one another, like a silent congregation of listening old men. A palpable watchfulness clung to that place, a patience that felt ancient, and the children were forbidden from playing there after the sun bled below the horizon. The woodcutters, men who feared little, refused to touch the sacred trees with their axes. And when a coconut thudded to the earth in the dead of night, no one dared to venture out to collect it. They knew, with a certainty passed down through generations, that those coconuts were not accidents. The village sphere was born from a story that felt more like a scar than a memory. Long ago, before Ben Nung Klang even had a name, a woman lived alone on the edge of the grove. She was a figure of whispers, belonging to no clear category, neither young nor old, neither destitute nor wealthy. Villagers murmured that she practiced *ket ha*, a forbidden and dangerous form of magic. They said she spoke to the trees in a language only they understood, that she fed the coconuts drops of her own blood, and that her prayers were not offered to monks in sunlit temples, but to the shadows that gathered at the roots of the palms. When a great famine descended upon the land, the fields turning to dust and the rivers shrinking to mud, the desperate villagers turned to her. They begged her for help, for the magic they had once feared. She promised them everything: water from the coconuts, fruit from the branches, survival itself. But her price was steep. She demanded one life in exchange. The villagers refused. Their morality, even in the face of starvation, held firm. That night, a fire, sudden and violent, swallowed her small hut. As the flames climbed the wooden walls and licked at her skin, she did not cry out in pain. Instead, she screamed a curse, a final, hateful promise so potent it seemed to seep into the very soil, sinking deep into the waiting roots of the coconut trees that surrounded her. When morning finally broke, her body was gone. Not a trace of her remained, only the charred skeleton of her home. The grove, however, stood untouched, silent and watchful. And then the coconuts began to fall. Now, the spirit born of that curse, Phi Maphrao, does not hunt like other ghosts who stalk the living with rage. It does not chase or shriek. It invites, A weary traveler, walking the lonely path that winds past the grove, might hear a sound of soft, plaintive crying, like that of a thirsty child. Their gaze is drawn upward, and there they see it. A single coconut, hanging lower than all the others, close enough to seem like a gift. A thin crack runs along its shell, resembling nothing so much as a mouth, parted just enough to speak. Drip, drip, a clear liquid, impossibly pure, leaks from the crack and darkens the soil below. The air fills with a sweet, intoxicating scent, a promise of cool relief. Those who succumb, whose thirst overpowers their caution, feel an immediate and profound refreshment as they drink. The sweetness is intimate, the coolness a balm to their parched throats. They feel revitalized, grateful for this unexpected mercy from the forest. They never notice the change that comes over them. They do not realize that their breathing has begun to slow, each inhalation shallower than the last. They do not see that their reflection no longer appears in the puddles of water on the path, or that when they finally turn to walk away, their shadow remains behind, a dark stain tethered to the base of the tree. By dawn, their bodies are discovered beneath the leaning palms. Their skin is as dry as paper, their lips are split and cracked, and their eyes are sunken deep into their skulls, as if something has patiently drunk them hollow from the inside. And sometimes, if the wind is still, villagers swear they can hear a faint knocking from inside the coconuts hanging overhead, a desperate, muffled tapping. One year, a revered monk, emboldened by his faith, dared to confront the spirit. He entered the grove at midnight, determined to bless the cursed ground and bring peace to the restless entity. There, in the oppressive silence, he saw her. A figure took shape from the bark and fibers of the trees themselves, her form woven from the grove's own essence. Long, black hair, tangled with vines and dead leaves, cascaded down her back, and then her face, which was the smooth, hard shell of a coconut, split open along its central seam, pulling back into a smile far wider than any human jaw should allow. She did not lunge or threaten him. She simply bowed her head in a gesture of mock reverence. "They burned me," she whispered, her voice the rustle of dry fronds. "So I learned to burn them slowly, from the inside out." The monk, his courage shattered, fled the grove. The next morning, villagers found his footprints leading into the grove, ending abruptly beneath the tallest, most ancient tree. Even today, the fear endures. The people of Ban Nan Klang and the surrounding villages give old coconut groves a wide berth. They teach their children never to drink coconut water found at night, no matter how tempting it may seem. They refuse to sleep beneath the leaning palms, knowing that rest there might be eternal. They understand that some trees do not grow fruit to give life. They grow prisons to contain it. And when the air is perfectly still, when not a single leaf trembles on its branch, and a coconut falls to the earth without a sound, they know Phi Maphrao is choosing who will hang beside her next.